Welcome to Nutty Buddy Entertainment.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nutty Buddy Entertainment. I am your host, Ryan, and on today's show, we are going to review episode 4 of the Moon Knight, The Tomb. And again, to do that with me is Brian. Brian, how's it going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
We got so much comic book / superhero stuff going on this week.
Yeah. So if you haven't yet, we did a rewatch of Star Wars Episode 1, where we did the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That is available to listen to on any podcast feed you might be listening to. So go ahead and listen to that. It was real fun. We had us two and a couple other guys on, and it was kind of a blast. So
yeah.
But today we're going to focus on Moon Knight. And before we get into the scene by scene breakdown, let's just talk about the episode in general. So last week we were a little like, we don't know for sure what's going on as far as like the direction the show was taking. It was giving us a lot more questions than answers. We were a little confused and mildly annoyed because it wasn't as good as the first two. So how did you feel about this episode, Brian?
From the start, I knew I was going to enjoy it just because how it started going through. And yeah, I really liked this one. We were starting to get some more of the questions answered, and it took a really cool turning point at the end too, which we'll get into. So yeah, I like this episode.
Yeah, I do too. I liked it a lot as well. There was like 2 minor nitpicks that I had that we'll talk about, but mostly this was better than episode 3. I would put it definitely in the category of 1s and 2 as far as much as I like the show. So
yeah, and I was looking at this episode and I'm like, apparently the directors, there were 2 directors for this episode who also did episode 2 as well, which was my favorite one so far. So it was Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, and then episode 3 was the other director. So I definitely like these guys' style more, I think, with Moon Knight and how they're taking it.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, the last 2 episodes is done by the director of that directed episode 3. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we'll have
Hopefully
to.
he pulls it together.
Yeah, let's get going. Come on, man. Yeah, no, but really cool episode. So you ready to get into the scene by scene breakdown?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so let's start off with the first scene, which I was just like, this was my favorite scene, probably because there's I love speculation. Like there's so much speculation we could take away from this scene. So we got to see one of the avatars of, I'm trying to think of the one, is it Icarus or not Icarus? I was listening to somebody's talk about it, and it was like he was the avatar of the god Osiris or something like that.
Osiris. Yeah,
Osiris.
Yep.
So he brings the Khonshu statue and puts it on a wall.
Yeah.
And reveals that there's 9 other statues on that wall.
Yep, we get 10 in total, and that was a really cool shot, just expanding, and you get to see everybody. So yeah, it's interesting. They, obviously there's a pantheon of all these gods, and clearly it's more than what I thought was like 12 of them, because if 10 are there and then there's the council as well, there's got to be more, and we get some hints at the end of the episode too, where we get to see maybe 1. So yeah, it's a huge world that we're not, don't really get to see yet.
Right, correct. So one thing that, if we remember in the first episode, Stephen mentions that the signage of the Egyptian exhibit mentioned that there was, they only had 7 of the Egyptian gods, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, there's actually 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we know that 5 have avatars.
Yep.
And Admit, obviously, we'll talk about where her statue was in a little bit. So that means 2 of them, along with Khonshu, were on that wall, possibly, right? So that means there's 7 other random statues up there, right?
Yeah.
So they're either other gods, Egyptian gods, or I had an interesting, like, I don't know, maybe this is a little outlandish, but remember in later on in the episode, they talked about an Aztec god.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and the two. I was like, so is it that they're like all? Is that like a hint that there's like other civilizations who made up these gods, right?
Yeah.
Were they all from different realms?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think like specifically the Egyptian ones were just those ones that were kind of with the museum because I'm what I'm thinking is like they're all probably from the same realm, but there are some in Egypt, maybe some in the Aztecs, some in other portions, and through the times those were the ones that they kind of like worshipped, but they were kind of all different, maybe had the same goal just with different parts of civilization. Oh.
Okay, yeah, no. So what you're saying is like maybe they're all from the same realm, but different civilizations worshipped.
Yeah.
So in theory, what I'm that god that was mentioned, that Aztec god, could have been maybe one of those gods on the wall, or one of those,
Yeah,
statues.
that's where I kind of think, we get more than what the 9 that he said there were, because those could have just been the 9 that were on the council or whatever that was. Because but yeah, we'll get into it more as we go on.
Yeah, and so then there was something else about that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I can't remember. Oh, so that could also mean, so we know that there was a war among the 9 realms, right? Before Odin kind of stepped in and made peace with the 9 realms. So was there like a war that made these avatars turn their fellow, those deities turn their fellow deities of whatever into store? Were they part of this war and they turned them into statues?
Yeah.
Or were they on the side of Admit?
Yeah, that's why. I'm wondering the same thing because was Amit just by her? It almost seems like she was by herself and something happened. Maybe it wasn't just one thing where all of them got put on the wall, but through the ages they all kind of like lost their way. So yeah, but I'm assuming we'll learn more once Mark goes to find Khonshu, and we'll get to see like what the other ones are, because there's no way that Steven's not going to be telling us tidbits of who these people are or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. And then the last thing I wanted just to mention that I had an epiphany during this scene as well is that, so remember there was that scene where the people were like, the Avatar said, well, humanity left us, remember? And then that's why they went to their realm and just worried about these avatars that they use now. So I was kind of like wondering if like, so why did the humans leave these gods or whatever? And I had a thought that maybe it could end up introducing Apocalypse, because that would be like the first superpowered human. He's actually a mutant, right? He's supposed to be the first mutant, and he's Egyptian. So I wonder if like there'll be hints at him in this series. I think that'd be super cool.
No, yeah, it's interesting because you've got all these different, the Egyptian gods, other ones like the Aztecs, and then also like Thor and stuff, mythology that's still on Earth, and Zeus and all that. So there's all these ones that kind of have influenced Earth, and seeing exactly where all of that's coming from. It's interesting that they're kind of encapsulating that now.
Yeah, it's gonna be super cool to watch this kind of like play out. So anyway, that was my favorite scene. I had a lot of speculation in my head. But anyway, let's go on to the next scene. Thanks so much for watching this clip of our podcast on Nutty Buddy Entertainment. Please subscribe and like the video. Also, if you'd like to listen to the rest of the podcast, click on one of the links down below. Also, in our podcast feed, you will see other content of Marvel that you can listen to, like The Great, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly when it comes to Loki or Hawkeye and other Marvel series. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys soon.